the midpoint of our 8 weeks, even though we've only had 1 week with majority of our roster last week. We were able to play some 5-on-5 and see these guys together. So we're still rounding into form where we can start experimenting and tinkering and evaluating these guys.
By the way,
Hey, Dusty. The front court, I mean, with Yaxel and Aday and Morez, Will, whoever you want to consider front court players, I mean, do you think you could have one of the better front courts in the country?
I do. I felt like that last year when we signed Danny and Vlad. I was actually a little bit surprised that those two didn't get a little more hoopla that comes with it. But yeah, we think that these guys all complement each other. When you look at their skill sets, when you look at what they do well, their physical attributes, I do think all of them complement each other. And then even getting past the four that you mentioned, Oscar Goodman's a versatile player that can allow us to play big or small. We haven't seen Malik with our group yet, but Malik could be here soon. So we do think we have a lot of options, and as the teams in the Final Four proved last year, you need great depth if you want to play late into March and hopefully April.
Dennis?
Dusty, I think you said at some point in the season when you guys were doing well, you were asked when you thought you guys were good, you traced it back to the summer. What kind of feeling do you have about the team right now and how good you guys think you can be?
Well, hopefully I'm here at Michigan for a long time, so I probably will be up here with an optimistic outlook every year going into the season. We get to choose our players, so hopefully we're not choosing guys that we don't like or that we don't believe in or that we don't want to coach. So by nature, I'm going to be optimistic, but I like our team. This group in the 2 or 3 workouts that we've had, I want to say majority of our practice, we've 1 or 2 guys banged up. Like I said, 1 guy's still not here yet. They seem to be a competitive group. They came in better shape than we anticipated. And we have a lot of weapons. Obviously, there's some question marks going into the season. We're aware of that, and so we've got to address those. But I think every team has non-strengths, and can you figure out how to win despite those? I mean, last year we were turning the ball over this time. We turned it over all year, and we had to find other ways to win. This year, the turnover issue after such a small sample size has been cleared up simply through roster construction.
Yeah, hey Dusty. Aday Mara, I wonder what you've seen since getting him here. It feels like Yaxel and Morez by going to USA and then being the number 1 prospect have gotten a lot of buzz. It's not often like a former 5-star would sort of be semi under the radar coming in.
Yeah, obviously big men typically develop a little bit later. He wasn't physically ready his first year at UCLA to play in that environment at that level. I should say at a winning level. He could have played, but obviously UCLA, like us, they're competing for championships every year. So he probably, and I don't want to speak for anyone, but he probably wasn't ready as a freshman like most big men aren't. And then last year, he really emerged late in the season. He had some big games. He didn't play well against us, but through scouting, we felt like he was, we had enough information to go aggressively at him when he went into the portal. And he's exactly what we thought. He's a wonderful human being. He's an elite passer. He's really tall.
Just you mentioned Malik not being, is he the only one that's not here yet?
He is the only one that's not currently here. Yes.
And last season you spoke about how you wanted to have a unique lineup to be different from other Big Ten teams. I guess in what way do you think this team can be different and maybe create advantages this season?
I think we can be even more unique. There will be times when we roll out a really big lineup, like we did in the Big Ten tournament. When we were really struggling against Wisconsin, and look, there's ebbs and flows in every season. There's give and take with every substitution decision, and we played Will Cheddar to 3 last year with Danny and Vlad in the Big Ten tournament in some real pivotal times, and he banged in big shots. We rebounded the ball well. Because Danny and Will were able to defend smaller guards on the perimeter and stay in front of the ball, it allowed us to play like that. Offensively, I think when you have talented players, you can figure out a way to be efficient enough to win. It usually comes down to, can those bigger guys guard smaller, quicker players, and can you keep the ball out of the paint and still contest on the perimeter? So, yeah, I think there'll be times when we roll out a really rare big lineup, and then there's going to be other times whenever we play small and quick and have one of our really skilled guys at the 5 so we can be explosive offensively. There'll be times when we need to score quickly, and so we'll downsize and play the faster, smaller lineup. So I do think we have a group that we're gonna have to figure out who plays the best with who, and try to align those minutes, and that's what we have to do these next 3 or 4 weeks. Really figure out who connects with who, and which guys don't need the ball with this group, and then they're more aggressive with that group. Because that self-awareness will ultimately decide whether we're going to be good or not.
Dusty, what were your takeaways with going overseas to watch Oscar and Morez at the FIBA World Cup, and what do you hope they got from that experience?
Every experience is a good experience when you're playing on a team in a competitive environment. Morez, it's just impressive to see him buy into that role. I mean, they needed him to be an enforcer in the paint, a finisher, and he did that. He was really, really effective playing his role for a championship, for a gold medal team on the world stage. Oscar was great last year, U17s. This year, for whatever reason, didn't play as well or as effective. But that's a good learning experience for him. That these were the things that made you extremely successful 12 months ago. And now, for whatever reason, those things didn't translate to this environment, this team. So I think it's a great learning experience for both of them. Obviously, we wish Oscar wouldn't have tweaked his ankle where he was here full strength. But you'd love to have your guys here developing the chemistry and whatnot. But for them to be playing on that stage where every possession matters, it takes some real stamina to get through that. Those guys play for a long time when you factor in the friendly games, the training camps, and practices. So I really, really enjoy watching guys with their national team because you see them in an all-star type of setting, and it really shows who has that self-awareness.
Go ahead, Jake.
You and Mac are really recruiting successfully really, really tall centers, and it's a very unique kind of player that has come to Michigan now for the last few years, and he was Marcus most recently. What about their skill set specifically with these really 7'3" centers do you like about them, and kind of how do you envision just in the future of Michigan basketball utilizing this really, really tall position consistently here at your program?
Well, recruiting is niche. I mean, when you play a certain style, players that thrive in that style, usually they recruit you a little bit. And this started way back when our first year at FAU, we were trying to figure out a blueprint for us to be successful there. We recruited, I think, all European international bigs and fast American playmaking guards, and thought, you know what, this is the best way for us to acquire talent that we can win with and then be a little bit different. And so because of the first bigs we signed at FAU, we played through them, they were involved, they were good passers, they were good screeners, they were great teammates. That led us to being able to recruit a higher level talent like Vlad. And so it's those guys, Carlos Schillens and those guys back from day one, are the reason we're able to attract bigs now, that because we've evolved into a system that they are involved in the offense, they're involved in getting other bigs away from the rim and things like that. So ideally we're clicking with 5 guys in unison playing wonderful music, and we're able to recruit anyone. But I do think if you're a big guy that likes to pass and be involved in the offense, then they see us play and are attracted to it.
Tony.
With the length of the recruiting process with Yaxel and how long he was on the fence, I mean, I'm sure you guys obviously got all the intel that you needed, but now that he's here in the uniform, what are you seeing from him?
He's an unbelievable human being. He's great to be around every day. He enjoys passing the ball. He's, when you have a guy with the that's been as publicized as Yax, if they're selfish, they're about numbers. If they're about themselves, it can present a number of challenges. And with Yaxel, he's so team oriented that it's been a pretty smooth transition.
Austin.
Yaxel's obviously a different player than Danny, but do you see some similarities in terms of just like a chess piece that other teams aren't going to have? Like, what are some of the unique things that you can do with them?
I mean, yeah, they're very, very similar in a lot of ways. And we actually even in a breakdown last week tinkered with the 4-5 ball screen to see if those guys had, what their natural instincts were. And you could see Yaxel as playing the perimeter position, he can handle it under pressure. He can handle with smaller guys on him, with bigger guys on him, and he's a playmaker. So in that regard, he's a lot like Danny. I think we'll be a little bit more talented across the board, so we probably won't have to rely on it as frequent, but in big moments, I could, looking forward in, several months in advance, I could see us using the 4-5 ball screen a lot again, with Yaxel as a playmaker.
Dennis?
Cadeau has started a lot of games already. What's he bring to the table and what you've seen?
Elliot has been incredible as far as getting into the paint, getting anywhere he needs to on the court. He has a burst to him, elite speed and quickness. He has elite speed and quickness. His ability to see the floor, manipulate defense. He's able to throw the lobs, the in-out passes. So just an elite pick and roll player that can play in space. And just trying to figure out the best way for him to find his spots to score in our system, and when to get to the rim, and when to shoot, and when to facilitate. But he's been really good so far. Very, very, very pleased with Elliot.
And his case on, has he developed a little bit? How do you like his development?
LJ he's had a very productive summer. He's become more consistent. He's changed his body. His conditioning's improving. He's a weapon. Right now, he's still adjusting to when he's in the game. As he go to his nature as far as scoring and putting a lot of pressure on the defense, or flipping his mindset and being more of a facilitator. So he's going to have to play multiple roles for us. I mean, there's going to be times when he needs to break down the defense. He's so good in the open floor, and he has such great body control that I think he just gives us another unique weapon on offense, and someone that brings, I guess, the skills that he brings to the table, we don't have an abundance of, so we're going to lean on him.
Andrew?
I guess with the transfer portal giving you the opportunity to bring in experienced college players anytime, how are you approaching now recruiting high school players in general?
I think right now the plan is to continue recruiting good balance, and we need, I can't even, we've sat here and Cheddar's names came up one time, and Amari Burnett's name hasn't came up yet, and through summer workouts, Amari might be he's probably been our most productive basketball player as a whole. So that continuity, the continuity they bring, the character that they bring, the work capacity, the unselfishness where they're trying to help the younger guys 24/7. They're spending their time and energy trying to help guys that could potentially chip into their minutes because they want to win and they want to be great teammates. So that's if we're ever going to be at a championship level, and the time will tell if we're going to be at a championship level this season. A big part of it is going to be because of the leadership and continuity of those guys, and then now you throw in Roddy Gale and LJ. When the prognosticators are talking about we went to the portal and we've signed this guy and that guy, and we've brought in this 5-star recruit and this 4-star, whatever the case, those guys get lost in the shuffle. But if we win this year at the level we're capable of, if we max out as a group, those returners are going to be a big reason why.
Entering your second year at Michigan, what are some things you learned last year that have impacted how you'll coach or lead the program this year?
I learned so much every day. I mean, I was watching some clips from practice last summer, trying to tweak a drill, and learned a couple things that we probably should have been focused on when we were focused on this. So, I mean, I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts, but that's the beautiful thing about our staff and our program. I think all of us are blown away at how much we didn't know 1 year prior. So that's kind of where I am now. I could go on. We need another hour segment. We have practice. So, but the physicality, obviously, the ability to have your plan in earlier because you don't have a chance to practice and adjust at certain points in the season. Those are probably the two things that jump out the most, probably the most broad.
Jake?
With how much leadership you do have in this team, how many guys you got to return back to this program, what do you envision the role for your freshmen going to be on this team this year? How they look this summer, and kind of, can you talk a little about them a little bit?
Well, that's the role for the freshmen are really going to be up to them. We don't go into the season with guys sharpied into starting spots or positions or roles. And so they bring a different, each guy brings something different to the table. Obviously Trey's maturity and physicality. I had a few coaching friends that we share practice film and share ideas and talk about each other's teams. And I was sitting with him yesterday on the road recruiting, and he said, "Hey, who's number one? Is Trey number one?" I'm sorry, I'm bad with numbers. Is Trey number? He said, "Who's number one?" And I said, I don't know all of our guys' numbers. They switch and this and that. I said, "Describe him." He described him, and he actually pulled out his laptop and said, "This kid." And I said, "Oh, that's Trey McKinney. He's a freshman from Michigan." And he said, "He's a freshman." He said, "Man, I would have thought he's a fifth-year grad transfer that you guys found from somewhere in the MAC." I mean, just the level of maturity, physicality, pace, poise he plays with. He's been great, and his work capacity might be as good as anyone that I've ever been around. He loves to work. Winter Trady's the same way. Loves to be in the gym. It's almost as if we're anticipating having to kick those guys out of the gym, out of the weight room. I was in Switzerland. I checked in on both of them, and I think Trey was running hills with a sled when I checked in on him on the 4th. And the Winters, they said, was finishing like his 4th workout of the day, where the coaches said he was in the weight room and he was running on the football field, and he'd already shot that morning, and he was on the gun that night. So just those are the guys we love having in the program, that love ball, that love to work, that this is really, really important. And whether they play at the highest level of basketball or not, those that work ethic and those traits will lead to success down the line. And so, I don't know. I don't know what the role of most of these guys are going to look like, because they have to decide that on the court. But like I said, we believe that we're all going to have to sacrifice, and depth is going to be a real weapon for this team.
Bill?
How do you feel about the shooting on the roster? I think outside of Amari, there's not a lot of maybe guys that hit volume threes, kind of proven in college.
Proven in college, yeah, correct. Once again, I'm very optimistic. Elliot shot 41%, I think, last year on catch and shoot threes. Typically, you make a jump from your sophomore to junior year. We don't have volume guys. Yaxel's 37 career, didn't shoot a lot, and part of that was because the role he played at his last school. Roddy shot it well early and late. Obviously had that funk in the middle of the season, and LJ Kaysen didn't shoot it as well as he can. I would think, just looking at it from big picture, if we shoot it poorly, then with the size and athleticism, we need to be an elite offensive rebounding team. And when you look at the most efficient teams in college basketball, their first shot offense isn't that great. When you just go back and look at the Final Four teams, the Houstons, the Floridas, their first shot offense, I mean, obviously it's good, but what makes them unique is they go get it when they miss. And I think we have the ability that if we don't shoot it well this year, then we got to figure out another way to win. I mean, I'd love to, put together the perfect roster every year and this all click on all cylinders, but that's not realistic. That is a question mark, and we're all aware, but we're not sitting here saying, man, I don't think we're gonna play this year. We didn't sign enough shooters. In Trey McKinney, Winters Grady, those guys are good shooters, and they haven't done it before, but we signed them because we believe that they will and they can.
James?
Dusty touched on the turnovers earlier. I guess has that been a summer project for you and the coaching staff to maybe dive into that and figure out ways how to make that not be a Philly season?
It was an ongoing project, and even after the season, I asked a couple guys on staff that aren't as busy recruiting some other things, hey, why don't you take a look at these from a different perspective and categorize them in these 4 or 5 things, and let's really figure out, did we not put them in the right situations? Did we not practice the right things? Is it just simply poor decision making? Or did the defense have a lot to do with it? I read the quote this summer I really like, that the enemy gets a vote as well. When we go into battle, like, the enemy has a vote. We don't just get to decide what we're good at and what we're not. I mean, we have to work and improve. But yeah, it was the most confusing project. I didn't really find any definitive answers, and I like to after the fact. And we did the same thing at FAU after one of the first couple of years, and we found a couple of definitive answers and said, you know what, there's a solution here, and here's what it's going to be, and it's going to take some time, but we're going to fix it. With the issues last year, I mean, we'd be playing well, and the guy would just dribble off his foot in that possession, or whatever the case. So it was just a lot of random ones that obviously we don't practice dribbling off our feet, or we punished them for months. I mean, I know I read the articles about our teams, like Coach Knight would just make them run to Brighton and back, and turnovers would be fixed. Well, we did that. And then we gave them incentives not to turn it over. So we tried just about everything. Maybe we didn't try a couple of them long enough for the duration, but for our fans and the you know, we're all experts in every field now. We spent a lot of time really trying and didn't do a good enough job. So yeah, we're gonna figure out roster construction is one of the ways we try to figure out a solution to that.
Anybody have anything else? Jake?
Just because you briefly touched on Mari, can you talk a little bit more about what makes him look like the best player on the team and kind of what has he done to his game that's really just elevated it from another level than you've seen previously?
With Namari, he's first of all, incredibly hard worker, and we challenged him to get his legs a lot stronger. He's battled some injuries throughout his career, but the thing that really stands out, I think on really good teams, and we say this about our best players that weren't our all-league guys, like they can really score, but they don't care if they do or not. They can really shoot, but they're not hunting shots. And that's kind of where Namari is now. Like he's just finding shots. He's just in the flow. He's not trying to do too much. He doesn't care if he has the ball in his hands, and that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, when you watch these guys in summer league, the smart, efficient, older players that are very secure in themselves, like they don't care if they have the ball. And then you look at their stat and you say, holy, this kid had 20 and 6, and he was just, I mean, he wasn't very aggressive with the ball in his hands. So to me, that's what stood out about Namari. He's scored, but he hasn't needed the ball.
Andrew?
Is there a timeline for Malik?
Very soon. Yeah, very soon.
And then, there's talk of NCAA tournament expansion. Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Matt Norlander for CBS, and I enjoy Matt and Gary and those guys in the pod. So there's a couple podcasts on college athletics that I enjoy listening to, and that's one of them. And for me, it's like, what's our objective? With anything, what's our objective? And then here's the best thing for that objective. If our objective is to create the best tournament, then 64 seems perfectly symmetrical or whatever the case. If we want to expand and we want to generate revenue and we want to grow the game and grow publicity, and you see the NBA expanding in Europe and you see the NFL playing games in wherever, I mean, I do think that's part of our responsibility also as coaches, as athletes, to expand. And then the next group of coaches and players, this is better for them than it was for us. You know, obviously, we're all taking, you know, the current landscape. It's not as if, you know, the market says this, but the market also is dictated by the last 100 years of work by all these people and what they've done for the game. So if our objective is to continue to generate more revenue, then I'm going to leave that up to people that do that for a living. But I'm here for it, whatever it is. I'm excited for if the tournament stays. I'm excited if the tournament grows. Whatever they decide, the people that are in those positions. And I don't have a strong opinion on either one. Just unless you tell me if we have one objective, then I'll have a strong opinion. But I think we probably have multiple objectives.
Are you being consulted at all by?
No. I'll be the czar in my next life.
Anybody have anything else? James?
Yeah, just a couple more. The coaches challenge, is that a welcome change this season?
Yeah, I like it. You know, that's one of the things that and I think we're all wired differently as people, but the stoppages in play. I mean, even I'm at these summer games, and the officials will stop the game, and they're doing their job, and they're being evaluated, so it's a letter of the law, and they'll stop the game, and it'll be a minute stoppage to run 2 seconds off the shot clock. I know referee, I used to officiate games coming up as a high school kid, and to the way to generate revenue, and it's, you know, you just try not to stop the game because everyone enjoys playing it and enjoy watching it. So I think it will eliminate some of those stoppages. So yeah, I'm a fan of that, and they're gonna miss some. The officials are gonna miss some calls. They're gonna miss an out of bounds. I'm gonna make a bad play call. Our players are gonna miss an open cutter. Like, that's part of the game. But I do like having it where if there's a pivotal moment and you can impact the game with one challenge, I do like it.
And then with the roster limits going from 13 to 15 scholarships, does that change anything in terms of recruiting? Do you maybe go after, like, you know, high school guys that you can redshirt to maybe save?
Yeah, I think it gives you a little more of an insurance policy where, man, I think this kid's going to be really, really good in 2 to 3 years, and he's patient enough, and some other things are important enough to him. The process is important enough to him that he'll stay the course. It allows you to take maybe 1 or 2 more of those guys that aren't going to be ready to help you win, because we do need to win consistently. And I think once you lose momentum in today's landscape, it's tough to recover from. But yeah, I think it gives you an opportunity to go after some guys you see something in that maybe could just be a gamble or
calculated risk. Everybody good? Okay, coach.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Listening.